Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. Welcome to Lipedema Wellness Conversations with Gail. That would be me. You're pretty used to this face. And my friends. And my friend tonight is AnnMarie DiAngelo. Hi, AnnMarie. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Gail. I'm doing well. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. And I'm very excited that you're here with me tonight. We have met only online. I know very little about your story. I um, I find that you are full of energy and compassion and acceptance of the community. You're a community member, and you were a heart guide. And so I'm so glad you're here. I do want to bring in our other guest. Our other guest is Julie Stewart. Hi, Julie. It's so good to.
Hi.
Hi,
Can you
Can
hear
Julie.
you
us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can. And
Yay. I
I
put on
know.
earphones.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
And the thing is Julie was having some technical difficulties, as we all do from time to time, and we just learned to live with it. So I'm really glad to have both AnnMarie and Julie. And many of you have seen Julie before because she has been doing she's done this broadcast with me before. But AnnMarie is a newbie, and I'm very excited. As I said, AnnMarie was a heart guide during our last Heart to Heart, and I've learned a little bit about her, but not much. And so I know. And so I'm looking forward to hearing her story. Before we get going on AnnMarie's story, I do want to say hi to Marilee. Marilee is from Northwest Washington. It's called Chehalis. And then Lisa Angels here from Iowa. And I believe we have probably three more people on. So we have about 5 people on right now. I would like to forgive. No, I'd like to forgive myself. I'd like to ask for forgiveness. We haven't been able to get the emails out recently, just due to because we've have our scheduler has been ill, and we want to make sure that all of you, if you've been here, we want you to know that here we are Tuesday nights, right? We're going to be here. So keep going. Just due to you, if you've been here, we want you to know that here we are Tuesday night. I'm getting feedback. Is that you, Julie?
Yeah, I just turned the volume down. I was trying to share the broadcast on my Facebook.
Oh, okay.
As
Okay.
soon
Well,
as I
that's
do that, I'll log back off.
okay. Okay. Stinker. Anyway, so the purpose for tonight is to introduce AnnMarie. And Julie and I are going to give her a grilling. We're just going to give it a third degree on all of this. She's a brave soul, I'll tell you.
I can take it. I'm a nurse. I've seen and heard everything. So,
Okay. So AnnMarie believes that she has seen and heard everything, and I'm going to have to believe it. So AnnMarie, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Where are you located, and what you do? What like you say, you're a nurse. What kind of a nurse are you? Just give us kind of a rough background on who you are.
sure. I grew up in Philadelphia, a little town they call South Philly is the nickname. I'm in New Jersey. I live in Deptford, New Jersey now. Um, I am a cardiac nurse, and I have been, I guess, for the past going on like 18 years. And I've always loved it. Figures I was a heart guide. I love everything about hearts. Um, and I was in the hospital for a lot of years. And it'll be 3 years in March, I've moved to outpatient cardiology. And I do cardiac stress testing and triaging and um, scheduling cardiac procedures, just everything that you could think of, like what a cardiac nurse would do. Lots and lots of triaging and ordering testing labs, like all that good
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, I honor you, as many people know that my husband had open heart surgery in
And my husband has had open heart surgery too.
right. Yeah. So we really appreciate you.
We know
Oh,
what
thank
you
you.
do.
And we love what you do, and we're
Oh,
grateful
thank
for that.
you.
But see, I
Thank
didn't
you.
know that about you. I didn't know that heart to heart and heart guide was
Yeah,
reached out and just touched you and got a hold of you. So that's a wonderful
yeah,
thing to know.
yeah, it did.
Yeah, you take care of other
Yeah.
people's hearts.
I do. I do. I
Mhm.
love hearts. And it's funny because not only do I love like my career is taking care of hearts, but I love hearts in general, like everything hearts. So it stands the reason that I am in cardiac. I love all kinds of heart jewelry, clothes with hearts. My husband says like, oh, if you buy like I'm always with all the jewelry that's around, like I always look for hearts and everything.
Oh,
Even you go in stores and they have like decorative things. I'm always looking for things that have hearts, and it's
right. And
just
you just
yeah.
got one, and I'm thinking
Ah,
we gotta let him
thank you,
continue. We should have
thank
more
you.
than now 12. We should have more than one heart for you. We should be flooding you with hearts since you love
Oh,
so
that's
much.
okay. It's whatever. It's good. One is great. It's all good.
Well, I know for me, one heart is all I need.
Yeah, yeah.
One good heart.
One good heart. We all
One
need
good
one
heart.
good heart.
One
Yes.
good heart is what I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I know that Julie's husband Kenny, at a very young age, in his 30s,
38.
yeah, 38, he had his first heart
Mhm.
surgery.
He had
Okay.
double bypass,
Wow. Okay.
and he's had stent surgery since. He started out with a heart cath, and then what they did was the angioplasty and at the time an atherectomy, but they don't do those so much anymore, do they?
I don't hear it now. Not so much. You don't hear too
Yeah,
much
but
about that.
he
Yeah.
had that, and I think the word is stenosis. The stenosis
Stenosis?
came.
Yes.
It came back within three
Okay.
months, and that's
Yeah, like
what
a
put him into the
restenosis.
double bypass.
Okay.
But he's got 5 stents that he's had over the years. He's 70 now, and
God bless. He's the
yeah,
bionic man.
he is. Except that now he's dealing with a whole nother health issues. So
Oh, sorry to hear
um,
that.
yeah,
Sorry
he
to hear
has liver
that.
cancer,
Oh,
but he's doing okay.
he's, oh, God
He's
bless.
doing
He's
okay.
in my prayers, as you
Yes, he's in
Yeah.
know.
all of us, and
Mhm.
and he's and he's over there going, "Rah, rah, rah, rah,"
Well,
like
he's over there going to say, I beat the heart problems, and I beat this, and I beat that. Now I'm going to beat this.
yep,
Right. You're
You
that's
so
know,
good. Good. Good.
he's
Give
got a
it.
right.
good
Yeah.
attitude.
That's
That's
right.
that's everything.
Yes.
Attitude is everything, and motivation for sure. That's the best
Well, the
cure.
motivation comes in that we've got 2 wonderful grandsons. And when grandchildren enter your life, not our daughters are wonderful and they're
Oh,
special, but
mm.
grandsons or grandchildren, when
Oh,
they enter
it's a
your
whole
life,
nother level.
oh
Yep.
man.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so with that, I hear in our voices, all three of us are caregivers. We care for the people that we live with and that we love, and we care for people that we don't live with and that we love and that we care deeply for, simply because they're human beings. And I find that those of us with lipedema, we want that same type of care, but we don't always get it. We just don't.
Mm.
People don't quite understand what we're struggling with.
Mm.
And so AnnMarie, when did you realize that you were struggling with something that ended up being called lipedema for you?
Yeah. In looking back, I've realized all of my life, as long as I can remember, when I look at my childhood pictures and I did cheerleading through the years, grade school, high school, and I did different dance classes. And I always knew that I was always disproportionate. I mean, it was very obvious in my dance pictures. I knew it. It bothered me. I felt like I never fit in clothes right. Um, and why didn't I look like other girls? Like and it was difficult because boys that I went to school with, you know, they could be jokers and they would say different things like, oh, Earl Campbell thighs, or, different comments that would, even though they were joking, they thought it was very hurtful. But, kids are kids and they don't, always realize the severity of their words, of course, yet. But so I always knew that there was something just not right. And all of my life, I was always very active. I always exercised. I had a passion for exercising. My dad, taught us. My dad, back from when he was young, was a gymnast. And I mean, he just had his body was something like, I mean, you can't even imagine. He was so fit, and he always, taught us that exercising is the best. So I always had a passion, and I noticed that it never made any difference in my appearance of my legs. I could not get my legs to tone no matter what I did. I was always, heavier from, I had the smaller upper body and small waist, and then from like the waist down, the curves. And I just could never change that. No matter what I did, I've, different diets over the years. I've lost a lot of weight at times, but I still never got the legs toned. Nothing I did made a difference.
Right. So, so how did you find out that there was this condition called lipedema, this disease?
Well, it was kind of by accident in a sense. And I can't believe, like, through all the years and all of like my education and researching different things, and how I just never came across it. I just took it as I thought I'm just overweight. Like, I need to exercise more, or I need to do this, diet more, or, it was something I always felt that it was something I wasn't doing enough of. It was kind of my fault in a sense. So when my daughter was having her own issues with some abdominal veins that were dilated, and having issues like pains in her legs and things like that, which, by the way, I am looking into getting her evaluated as well, because I do worry. My sister's 10 years older. She has it as well. So there's definitely that family. As we know, genetics plays a part. And I went with my daughter to this specialist. He was a vascular specialist, interventional, and he examined my daughter. And a lot of the things, so I had really liked him, and I decided that I was going to make an appointment with him myself. And as soon as I was being examined, I mean, he took one look at me and he said, "You have classic lipedema." Like, he just recognized it right away. And he said, I know you have it. I can't officially diagnose you, but I'm going to help you look for someone who can. And this was a large university hospital, and there were no doctors there that could even diagnose me, really. So he was looking at a nearby large university hospital, and um, he found someone for me. And actually, that person turned out to be Dr. Jasmine Zhang, who I have had for a couple years now, who Catherine saw. So I was really excited when Catherine was going to her. because, she had been my doctor, and she was the one who diagnosed me officially.
Wow.
So, and this was after I had seen, I think, every specialist pretty much known to man up until this point, and
Hmm.
no one, and it was so frustrating because I had even been under the care of, over the years, like several different vascular doctors who had done sclerotherapy injections for my varicose veins, and not once did anyone ever say to me, AnnMarie, the appearance of your legs is not normal. Like, something's not right here.
Right.
I paid a lot of money over the years, had these repeated injections, but no one took the time to, and it just astounds me how that could happen. That it wasn't like I never went to a doctor, specialist, and no one recognized it. No one ever said a thing, or, had me go further with it, until I met this godsend of a doctor, this specialist, and he was just amazing. And I believe that it was meant for me. It was meant for my daughter to go to him, for me to find him, um,
Right.
to be diagnosed.
Right.
And that's how I finally became, that's how I finally got diagnosed. But it was after many years of struggling with so many concerning symptoms. I mean, I can remember back from, you know, childhood and, teenage years and my 20s, just always having pain, like joint pain and, leg pain, and chalked it off that I was just accident prone because I always felt like my gait was off. And, people, my family, friends would always tease me like, oh, here she goes again, tripping or, so I feel like I probably have always not lifted my legs properly. They kind of, my husband today, I mean, like, he'll say to me all the time, he'll be like, lift your legs, you got to lift them. And I'm like, you don't understand. It's not that simple. I know I need to lift them, but they don't move. It's different, especially as you get older. Like, I don't have that range of motion, even though, I stretch every day, I exercise, but they're heavy. The heaviness,
Right.
is really, it's
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 and
challenging. It's very challenging.
and I think that's part of what we talk about. And when we start saying, well, what are we talking about when we say lack of mobility? And I know that Julie deals also with lack of mobility. We lose mobility. We do so many things trying to either maintain where we are or increase our mobility, and it's extraordinarily difficult. We have to
It
constantly
is.
work.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
for example, I know for me, over the weekend, I had a show. I sing in a chorus, a Sweet Adeline chorus, and we have we put our show on in a little church. We don't use our regular risers. We sing in a little church that has just short steps to go up towards the platform, and we use those steps as our risers. And they have handrails on either side. And I went up and I had to hold those handrails to go up. Now, a year ago, my husband didn't see me having to hold on to the handrails. He saw me just walking up those steps. Yet on Saturday, he saw me walk to those steps, our our risers, and he saw me have to hold on to that handrail to make it up to the top step, to make it up to the platform. And apparently he turned and looked at our daughter and said, "I'm worried about her." He didn't tell me. My daughter was the one who said, on our way, my daughter's 39, and she said, I had to take her back to her car, and she said, "Mom, Daddy's worried about you. You look like you're in pain, and you look like you're losing more mobility." So my family had an intervention. So I don't notice it, right? I know my legs are heavy and achy, but I don't, and he hadn't really noticed it until he saw me in a situation that he hadn't seen me in for a year. And it's like, oh my gosh, Gail didn't just walk up the steps, right? And what it was, my legs. I don't think everybody understands what lipedema pain is,
No.
right?
No,
So
no.
would both of you take a little bit of time and explain what your lipedema pain is? Because I think it's all different.
No.
Julie, would you like to start with that?
It is more a range of motion issue for me than it is pain. I do have pain, but it is when you touch. So what happens is my knee will catch and then I'll have pain. But the range of motion in taking that step and my balance is way off. So I'm fortunate that it isn't excruciating as I'm walking. But when I bump, when Kenny helps me with my pressure pump, for example, he has to help me lift my legs up. I can't pull my legs up onto the couch. I just don't have the strength. And he helps me to refasten the Velcro so that it's pulled up right. And if he pushes too hard, it hurts big time. So that's where my pain comes in more than anything. It is not a standing still kind of throbbing thing. Now, I will get a knife pain, but it's not just my legs. It's my hands, it's my arms, it might be my abdomen, it might be through my shoulder and my legs, my feet, but it's not long lasting. So that's where I'm different that way.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, AnnMarie? How would you describe the pain that you deal with that you consider lipedema related pain?
I would describe it definitely, tender, very tender to the touch. Like I have, a lot of those nodules, fibrosis. In fact, I've had a really large one on like above my left knee laterally, like on the lateral thigh. And I've had it for so many years, and I've had it checked, and doctors before my diagnosis would say, oh, it's just a lipoma. It's just, but the pain is very, like, to touch my legs is very painful. So it's more that, like Julie said, than actual severe pain. Like it's definitely achy all the time, more of a heaviness, kind of achy, throbby at times. The other thing that it's caused is I have in my bilateral calves, I do have some vein issues with chronic venous insufficiency. My my left calf greater than my right. So I have gone through a lot of vascular, a lot of the testing, and I do have that. So I get a lot of pain. I get more pain like shooting into the feet, like the bottom of the feet. I think that's more painful than anything. And it makes it hard with walking. Like I try to always keep my legs elevated when I'm sitting or lying down. But when I go to step down, that's when I get a lot more pain. And sometimes it's hard to bear that weight to
Right.
move.
Right.
Um,
When I before I realized I had lipedema, I had I had my veins done, and we did have a question about, does venous insufficiency always coincide with lipedema? And I don't know that always does. I think it often does.
yeah,
I
yeah.
Um,
have mild venous insufficiency, but I've not had it treated. They told me that if I did want to go through and have surgery at some point, that that would have to come first, but that it was not dire.
right,
Right.
And with all that's
Mm,
happened in our lives since then, it's just not been on the forefront.
right.
right.
So,
And I
Yeah.
had my greater saphenous done, laser ablated in 2006. Both of them, and I actually had two greater saphenous veins in my left leg, and they only had to take care of one of them. The other one seemed to be healthy, but it was like all of my valves were mushy, right? So they weren't. So I was just getting a lot of pooling blood no matter what I did. But I've also had the pain where I didn't know how else to describe it. It was like fatigue, like leg fatigue, like just so heavy that my legs just were like I used to say, I think I have bone fatigue. It goes all the way through my leg, and they're just so heavy. And I remember going in one time. I finally went to the emergency room. Guy, my husband said, "Honey, this isn't right." And this was in 2012. He goes, "You need to go have your legs checked." And boy, did they check my legs. They checked my veins. They checked everything. They did full ultrasounds on my legs to see what was going on. And it came out, there's nothing wrong with your legs. And they
Mm,
didn't tell me if you would lose weight. They just said, there's nothing wrong with your legs. Carry on. And
mm,
I'm like, but they hurt. They hurt. Um, I can go out into the kitchen, and by the time I've got the eggs, the boiled eggs cracked, I mean, I'd boil the eggs, I'd go crack them in the sink, maybe six or whatever. By the time I'd stood there for that long to peel, get the shells off of six eggs, I'd be aching for six
yeah,
eggs.
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't on a timer, but I'm thinking, holy moly, what? I can't do anything, right? And I thought, oh, maybe it's because I need to wear shoes in the kitchen. So I'd try to wear shoes, and then I'd think, no, it didn't help. The shoes didn't help because I don't know. I was trying to find every answer. I tried compression, like knee-high compression, and the one time I had it actually prescribed to me was before I had my veins done. And the person who finally did my veins said, I think that compression to help blow out the veins, or the valves around your knees. But it's always been these heavy aching legs. Like I get up and I've got to get them moving a bit to get through that first 5 or 6 steps of pain before. And
Mm,
yet in my brain, when Catherine asked me in one of my very first consultation, describe your pain, I couldn't, because because it was natural. It was everything I had lived with since
mm,
I can remember, right?
that may be why I don't feel like it's pain, because it's something I've lived with a long
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Right,
It's
right.
how you identify it differently. If
Yeah.
you were to feel what someone that doesn't have lipedema feels, I mean, if there were a way to know what that's like.
I know. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing. And then when we talk about our lack of mobility, my husband will say, bend your knees. You know, like when I was learning how to ski, bend your knees. I'm like, they're bent. He goes, no, like bend them. I'm like, they're bent. This is as bent as they get,
Right.
right? He goes, can't you bend them further? And I'm like, I'm bent,
Yeah.
because I lacked that flexibility. Now, for some people, they have hypermobility.
This is interesting,
I
Gail.
don't.
I have in the past. I can bend over and touch the floor still.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I taught kinder music for many years, as big as I was up and down off the floor, and everybody would be amazed that I could do that.
Right. And I can bend over and put my palms on the floor. And I was always told, that's because you don't have any stomach. But I also remember when I was in high school, a friend told me, notice how I put that in quotes. She told me, you have the flattest stomach I've ever seen on a fat girl. Because
Oh,
my hip bones would poke out so far that it held my hip huggers. Okay, I went to high school in the early 70s. So we'd have those hip huggers on, right? And my hips would poke out so far I could put my finger between the front of my pants and my tummy. I could put my hand in there without touching because my hip bones poked out so far. Because it was all behind me and below. I had to wear the big elephant. Remember the elephant ear pants? Remember those? I don't know. Julie must. I don't know how old you are.
I graduated 1972, so
Okay.
yes.
And I graduated in 78. So anyway, we had these big, flowy, these pants that went like this, right? I loved them. I loved them because they fit my legs. All but no boobs. That's what they used to call me. Little beasts. Anyway, and maybe one or two of them might be watching this. I don't care. I am not all but no boobs. I've got thighs and I got arms. But anyway, so it's really interesting. We're so similar and we're so different at the same time. But I don't have hypermobility. I don't think. I think I'm stiff, right? I think like could never do a back bend. Um, my thumb is like stiff. It doesn't do its thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm stiff, but I can bend over and touch the ground with my flat palms without bending my knees. So maybe there is a little hypermobility. So anyway, AnnMarie, I'm so sorry. I didn't let you talk.
No, no.
Do you have hypermobility at all, AnnMarie?
I think I do. I mean, from when I was young, I always bent in different. I mean, granted, I have that heaviness. I think that prevents me from moving. I think like as quickly as I used to, or as fully, But I think I do. I can remember like a certain way I would stand and position my hands kind of backwards. I never thought anything of it. And people would say to me, how do you stand and do that with your hands? And I'd say, what am I doing? It was so natural to me. Now I realize that there were different things that, I couldn't really explain.
Right.
And that makes sense now. But like even back a few years ago, I had injured my left knee. I tore my meniscus and I had surgery, a meniscus repair. This is prior to my diagnosis. And the orthopedic surgeon, he couldn't understand, as well as his colleagues, why I was like, the swelling was like over the knee. They thought I was having complications from the surgery. They're like, but it doesn't make sense. Like your swelling is really extreme. And, I thought like, did they mess something up in there? Or, I didn't know what to think. But then it wasn't that long after that I met this doctor who was diagnosing the lipedema. So then so many things made sense. And I was in awe. And I've seen orthopedics since then. None of these specialists that I have seen, aside from this one physician that recognized it, ever heard of lipedema. None. They were all totally like, we've never heard of it. And I'll tell you, I had a work injury last September from a treadmill. I was doing testing on a patient, and someone accidentally hit it while I was on it, checking this patient. And I had to go to the workman comp physician. And she looked at me, and she was a taller, thinner doctor, long legs, the whole bit, short skirt, the whole, and she said to me, you may want to consider losing some weight.
Oh,
Like
it
very,
never
very ignorant.
mind.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, she's like, did you ever think about losing weight? And that's when I turned around and I said, well, for your information, I have a chronic disease. It's called lipedema. Oh, I've never heard of that. The next time I went back, I brought her information on it. And she said, oh, she was like a different person, because she was not very nice at all to me initially when she met me, and kind of like looked down on me like, oh, you just need to lose some weight. And when I went back and took that information, she said, oh no. She said, I did research it. And she was like a changed woman. Her attitude toward me was, she couldn't be sweeter, after reading about it. And it's so disheartening, like the judgment that we deal with, people looking at a certain way, assuming, just like different doctors that I've seen, that it's just obesity. It's just, you need to lose weight. You need to eat less. And I follow a Mediterranean keto diet. I have for years now, and it's, I'm careful. I try to avoid gluten, and I am gluten sensitive, and different things like that. But the education, it's just these physicians, it needs to get out there, the education, because even as, like in my career, doctors that I know and no one knows of this. The cardiac world does not know of it. No one, it seems like. And it's just so, I just feel like, yeah, we just need to do, and, Lipedema Simplified is amazing with the education they put in the research, but it needs to get out there to these physicians, because they do not know of it.
Yeah. And good on you, AnnMarie, for saying, I have a chronic condition. I have a disease.
Yeah.
So you don't be talking down to me.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, you don't, yeah.
take back what you said. And it's and good on her for taking the initiative to listen to that. But I want to say good on you. I want to say good on everybody who has to say, I have this thing. It's called lipedema. Look it up, kind of thing, right? Because it isn't known. Like, you're in the medical profession, and it's not known. You every day, and I'm sure you see patients who have cardiac issues who have lipedema,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know, as a person who moves around in the world, who moves around in my town, I'll think, I really want to help that person.
Yeah.
I can tell by the way they move that they're struggling. And yet it's such a sensitive topic. I think what we're doing with wisdom circles, and I want to bring Julie in here as well to talk to us a little bit about what we're doing with wisdom circles. Now, AnnMarie, are you involved with that at all?
Uh, no, I know I've heard and I've seen, things about the wisdom circle, but not as much as I'd like to be.
Okay, so
It's phenomenal,
it is.
AnnMarie.
So I want to tell you how it got started. It got started a year ago, over a year ago, I believe. It was like November of 2022, November, October. And Catherine and Dr. Matt Carmody had this dream, this vision of the community members coming together and finding a path forward, not knowing what was going to emerge. We all got together. We all put in as many people as could show up at the meeting, and we all started putting in. We answered one question: what do you see of lipedema, or something? What do you visualize? What do you need? I can't even remember the question.
The question may have been, what concerns you the most about lipedema, and what would you like to see done?
Okay.
Something like that. It was like a
Mhm.
two-part.
Right. And we had people saying things like, I wish my mom would quit buying me diet pills. So that was one of them, right? I mean, as simple and basic as that. Other people are like, I wish that I could get information out to the younger generation, because so many of us have gone through perimenopause, menopause, and we're on the other side. We're in our 60s or 70s or 80s, some are in their 50s. And we think, we got women in their 30s who are childbearing years, and or they've had their children and now they're moving into the perimenopause stage, and we know what happened to us in perimenopause. So we have all these different things coming from, whether it's hormonal, or we want to give people hope.
Or
We want to
even,
educate those people who have zero. They don't even know the word lipedema. I mean, it's just this broad thing, and we brought it all together. We organized all these topics, and then we've had little teams grabbing a topic. And this last one of them was, we need a postcard, one to hand to our doctor, one to hand to
Yeah.
a patient, right? And this time, I want Julie to talk about what this one is about, this project.
what's so cool, I got to be on that first team with you, Gail,
Yeah.
and we devised the postcard with the thought that we wanted to help the newly aware. But what we realized with the second group, because it was the emotional aspect of lipedema and how it impacts us. What about the woman who hears the diagnosis and is so overwhelmed, so unsure what her next step can be, that she is in a mode of crisis? It's the fight or flight reaction, right? And so we talked at length about how we could address that. We came up with a lot of different great ideas, but some that were harder to implement. And over the course of about 2 months, coming together and discussing things and bringing things to the larger group, we came up with the idea of Emmy, who is our mascot for Lipedema Simplified, Emmy's Box of Hope. And in the box would be items to help bring that person out of their crisis, or at least put them on a path that they could feel supported and loved and helped in whatever way we could. Now, initially we wanted to do an actual box, but that got to be really hard to develop, and the time frame for that would have been a lot longer. So we came up with a digital idea. And in the digital plan, we brought in the thought that we need to teach things. We need them to be able to understand different parts of the disease lipedema. So we've got some ebooks and things like that in it. but then we wanted to address the five senses and how it could be a big help to us to have different activities, different kinds of things to promote lymph movement, but were fun. Um, Lighten the spirit with humor, um, using our artisticness to color, just all kinds of ideas, ways to just relate on a variety of levels. And so what we did is we came up with, it's, I guess it's a website, but it's called Emmy's Box of Hope, and we'll be able to, I hope within the next month, launch it so that people can go to a link. They'll see a welcome letter. They'll be able to do an intake form so that we can get information on them to make it the best experience possible. But they're going to have all of this information they can learn. Then they're going to have a whole bunch of information to connect them to people in the community, as well as to help them connect to the greater public and the medical community. And then we have a section to help them belong, help them be a part of our group that we are Lipedema Simplified, but in a variety of ways. To the extent that we might even say we'll have a Zoom class that they can join. We haven't got that quite yet figured out, but one where they can come, and if they're not feeling good about themselves, just have a conversation, because so many of our support opportunities are conversations, right? All of
Right.
our Zooms, we have conversations. So the idea then is to learn from that and get feedback from them and just keep improving it, making it better and better and better. And so I'm excited with what we're getting ready to launch. It is so, so cool. We've
Now,
got all kinds of things.
now, Julie, I'm thinking we're launching. Do we plan on launching that on at our
The,
town hall?
as long as our staff member who is ill is able to get done what she needs to get done, I don't know where that status is.
I
That's
don't
the
know either.
thing. That is the thing that could impact whether it will happen then or not.
Right. So,
But it's so much. It's so close. It is so close.
it is so close. And we have this town hall coming up on January 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I really want to say thank you to everybody who's worked on Emmy's Box of Hope. And it's exactly what AnnMarie does every day of her life. She reaches out and she touches hearts and she loves hearts. And that's what this Emmy's Box of Hope does. It brings hope. It touches our hearts.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk about that before we left. We've already been on this call for over 45 minutes. AnnMarie, wonderful. Thank you. I know it was like, oh, what do I do? And because it's always that way with me. People don't know what I'm going to bring up. But AnnMarie, your love for people and for yourself, because you've been taking care of yourself since you found out. You've done everything you can. You've gone to doctors and everything, and you have to do it. You pretty much had to find out yourself, but you had Dr. Zhang, and she's spectacular. She was actually on our Heart to Heart event this year, this fall, and she did a follow-up bonus session with us. And so if you ever get a chance to go back, and if you were a VIP for Heart to Heart, make sure that you,
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it. I was so excited.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And an audience out there, everybody who's listening or who's watching the replays, if you get a chance to, if you're not one of our VIPs, you get a chance for our replays, you might want to purchase those replays, because we have some amazing people. And the Heart to Heart Dr. Carmody and Catherine call it emergent strategies, which, for I shouldn't say heart to heart, wisdom circles. Wisdom circles is what we call it. Dr. Carmody calls it emergent strategies. Basically, these are strategies that are emerging from the community that we're going to share with
Yes.
the community. And AnnMarie, you haven't been on my show before, but I usually always end by asking my guests one question. And it's this: if you have a message that you want echoed around the world, what would it be? And if you don't have that on the top of your head, I'll ask Julie, because all three of us have to come up with something. So whoever wants to go first can go first.
Julie, it's up to you. Do you want to go first?
I
I mean,
can.
okay.
I have answered this question before, but my answer is somewhat changed because of all we're doing with wisdom circles. And what I'm going to say is, know you are supported and know that we're getting closer. And we're extending our arms to surround you no matter where you are on this road. And we want to join hands and become bigger and bigger so that more and more people know. So I want you to join us in that, whoever you are. If you're out there and you don't understand us completely, investigate. Look for that Emmy's box of hope when it starts to be promoted, and look at what all is there, because it is a resource that's going to help us spread our message.
Thank you, Julie. That's wonderful. AnnMarie?
I that was great, Julie. That's the most beautiful message. I think for me, like being in the medical community, I'm all about like educating the community, and I would love to see, that get out, get the word to the physicians and the clinical staff, and recognizing it and treating people and get the judgment off of it. And it is true, I know for me, and lipedema simplified has been, I consider it my lifeline. We have our physicians and our conservative treatments, and that we do, the conservative measures, and all the different things that we do for self-care for it. But lipedema simplified is our lifeline. Like it's a comprehensive treatment all wrapped up in one. It's for, and not just for your physical body, the emotional aspect, the emotional, the cognitive, Dr. Perrin being involved, like everything. And I feel like this is where you need to be to manage this disease. Like it's here. We have everything. So I'm so happy to have found it. It's made all the difference, because even being in the medical community, I was overwhelmed, having that diagnosis, even though you've always known something's wrong, but having a name to it. And you do feel that, where do I go from here? Like, okay, I've been dealing with this all these years. Now we know what it is, but now what? And I found it here. I found all the answers in one place, so I consider it oxygen. Like,
Yeah.
it really is. It's oxygen, and I have to have it some, on a daily basis, some part of it, listening, and yeah.
Thank you so much, AnnMarie and Julie. And I want to expand on both of those. So as AnnMarie said, it's your oxygen. And Julie said, it's that hand that we're holding. So take a deep breath and reach out and hold my hand. I'm here for you and you're here for me. And we're going to do this together. And with that, I wish you all a good night and a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas.
Every holiday celebration you can possibly think of.
Yeah.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.
Love you.